Some stories in GTA games cover the protagonist going from rags to riches, and in my opinion, the GTA game that covers that kind of story the best is GTA Vice City. But how exactly did Tommy Vercetti build this whole huge criminal organization in such a short matter of time? Well, there are a few reasons for his success, so let's get on with it. At first, we gotta look at his connections. Tommy, very early on in the story, in his stay in Vice City, makes various connections with some of the more notable ones being Colonel Cortez and Avery Carrington, for example. Aside from him making all kinds of connections in Vice City and buying various businesses around town, one of the key things that Tommy did not have is a lot of competition. See, by 1986, both the Mendez brothers and the Vance crime family are gone. Instead, you had many of these like smaller street gangs, like the Cubans and so on. I mean, you had this angry fat fuck, but Tommy got rid of him quick enough, so I don't really count him. Also, I really quickly want to ask you guys to put a hole in that subscribe button, make it bigger than the one that Lance and Tommy put in Diaz's fat head in this scene. Okay, back to the video. And after getting rid of him, there was really no big criminal organization in Vice City other than the Vercetti gang, whatever you want to call it. Unlike Liberty City, which had at least 2 or 3 big mafia families fighting constantly. This gave Tommy a huge advantage and allowed him to grow his operation very quickly, branching into both legal and illegal businesses without having to worry too much about the competition. Also, once he got rid of Diaz, his whole estate, along with his entire gang, were Tommy's essentially. So right after taking out Diaz, Tommy was the leader of Diaz's former gang, which was a huge gang considering that Diaz was Vice City's biggest kingpin right before Tommy took over. So since the gang didn't really give 2 shits about Diaz, and seeing as Tommy now had a bunch of money from Diaz, he could easily keep all of these guys on the payroll, and they really would not care. As I said, they did not give 2 shits about Diaz, they just cared about someone paying their bills, and there's no real reason for them to leave the now new Vercetti gang. Also, the fact that Tommy just did 15 years in prison and none of the big players in Vice City really knew who he was, not only because of the fact that he just did 15 years in prison, but he was not from Vice City. He was mainly operating even before his prison sentence. He's always been in Liberty City, so they had no idea that Tommy had ties to the Mafia. And even if Tommy's plan was to go against the Mafia, if someone like Diaz or maybe even Colonel Cortez in the early stages of the game found out that Tommy was a Forelli family soldier, yeah, that wouldn't really be a good look for Tommy, and I don't think he would be alive for much longer. But considering he did 15 years in prison and the fact that the game has changed, quote unquote, in those 15 years, that gave Tommy an advantage to make the before mentioned connections a lot easier. But there was still the matter of the Forelli Mafia, who were on his back constantly, specifically Sonny. Well, let's clear one thing up first. Since Sonny set Tommy up back in 1971, 15 years before the events of GTA Vice City, Tommy knew he had to go against Sonny. Not only did he kind of have to, but he also wanted to, as an act of revenge, since Sonny put him behind bars. So Sonny essentially took 15 years of Tommy's life, but I also think Sonny would have tried to have Tommy killed again, and maybe even succeeded had Tommy not gotten rid of him first. And we know Tommy could pay Sonny back. The moment he got rid of Diaz, Tommy had enough money to pay Sonny back for the botched drug deal at the beginning of the game. And since Tommy did not pay Sonny back all that money, but rather used it to expand his criminal organization with buying various businesses and things, you gotta understand one more thing. When Tommy went through with this, when he started expanding his criminal organization, that's the moment he knew there was no going back. That's the moment he knew he had to face Sonny at some point. It did eventually pay off though, because Tommy expanded his organization throughout the entirety of Vice City, and by the end of the game, he didn't really need Sonny and the Forellis anymore. So in the final mission, as we know, Tommy gets rid of Sonny, and since he has no threats or real competition in Vice City, and the Forellis sure wouldn't come after him, considering with the death of Sonny, they were starting to fall apart because the other mafia families of Liberty City were trying to take them out and take over their territory. So simply put, even if they wanted to, they would have no chance against Tommy, and they would also have no resources. So to summarize everything, really the reasons why Tommy built this huge organization was the fact that he just got out of prison, so nobody knew him, which helped him make a lot of connections, and friends in Vice City. The second reason is he got rid of the Forellis in the end, and the most important factor in his success, something that he could have never gotten all this success and all this money if he hadn't done so is the fact that he took over Diaz's organization, which gave him a lot of protection and a solid foundation to build and expand, which also helped him to not have any really serious competition in Vice City itself, due to the fact that his criminal organization was the biggest one in town and nobody simply had either the balls or the resources or anything to go up against the whole organization. All those smaller street gangs essentially had no chance against the Vercetti gang, and they essentially didn't even bother going after them. With that said, I want to thank you for watching this video. Until the next video stream, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.